This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, yes, yes.
We can begin, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I am now will be presenting you something about 3D scanning and what are the different methods and how we can improve the accuracy of 3D scanning. And we can also see in the PPT itself about the surface reconstruction, how the surface is created, starting from the basic point cloud data that are noisy, uncertain, and how these data can be used to create a successful 3D model. So, beginning with my talk, I will be covering about the introduction of 3D scanning, what is actually 3D scanning is, what we do in 3D scanning, what are the different technologies that are there in the 3D scanning, what are the different steps to create the perfect or you can say accurate 3D model, what are the scanning technologies we have, and some of the preliminary research that my team has performed. Okay, so there will be different case studies are there, and at last we'll see one or two examples of creating the you can say a surface model based on the mobile application using your mobile itself and with some freely available softwares also. So I am beginning with the 3D scanning introduction only. You can say that this 3D scanning, the term 3D scanning is itself is you have heard it several times, and you can say that we have heard this term from decades ago. You know, when we have an obsession since this FDP is also on 3D printing, so we have heard so much about of 3D printing that we actually you can say we forgot about one another revolutionized term or you can say technology itself, that is 3D scanning is. Though the evolution is along, you can say that during the evolution of 3D printing, 3D scanning is also coming, but the mainstream media continues its focus on 3D printing only and just forget much about the and they does not cover anything about the 3D scanning. But it is, you can say that it is more impactful disruption, and you can say the way products are designed, engineered, or you can say manufactured or inspected, or you can say the documentation. So all these things can be done with using a single technology, that is your 3D scanning only. With 3D printing, you can print complex shape, complex type of parts, but to create, or you can say, I will say that to recreate something is what 3D scanning can be realized through, you can say, 3D scanning itself. So it's a act of capturing the geometrical textures, okay, the surfaces, or in the general term, what we can say, it is just we are actually capturing some information or data from the surface of any object. You know? We have an object, or you can say we have a one object, or you can say we have a broken object, broken body is there, broken part is there. So several times it happens that we have some drawing and we have created one object or one body or one component, one engineer component has been produced using the drawing. Now after several years, the drawing is disappeared and the parts is also, you can say, have broken out. And now you want to recreate that part because that part is successful in industries. So what you will do in that case? Yes, you may say that okay, I will go for uh, the touch probe scanning, or you can say the CMM coordinate measuring machine I will be using, and will say will take the probe and will take different point contacts and then will measure. Yes, you can do that, but it is time consuming. It takes hell lot of a time to produce a bigger part, a comparatively bigger part. It takes lot of time. Then also, if the body of the part is soft, then you can also say that the probe can deform the body itself. Okay, then it is very troublesome task Okay, it depends on the softwares also. So all those, you can say the human error is there also there. When you are using the tools, traditional tools, then you can say that the human errors are also there. So 3D scanning, what it does is, you can, I heard the term 3D scanning, then I can say that, okay, there are millions of points are there. So I'm gathering the information, I'm gathering the data of any object surface, whatever may be the complexity of that shape or the texture. So what I'm getting a huge amount of data, huge amount of point cloud data in the form of points. Those points are basically nothing but the x, y, z coordinates in the space, which is actually reference to the some, you can say, the reference that is there for the 3D scanner. So it is the act of capturing data from objects in real world and bringing them into the digital pipeline. When I'm saying that digital pipeline, I mean to say that from taking a one part and recreating it completely and then printing it using the 3D printers or the other technologies, you can say that 3D scanning is an integrated part of product development itself. Okay. Now, what is the need? Just that I have discussed some of the problems that we go through when we use the traditional methods. So in traditional methods, what happens? Engineers perform several mathematical calculations, several human errors can occur. They use calipers, micrometers, calculators, fixed jigs and fixtures. So all those are things are there. So there is a more chance of human error is there. More time is you have to spend on that. Rapidly recovery of data is not possible. Okay, it takes a lot of time to recover the, or you can say, to scan the complete part using the touch probe also. We generally use CMM, that is coordinate measuring machine, for creating the, or you can say for recreating any part, but it is very lengthy. Human error is there. Then you can also say that it can affect the or deform the surface body also. Okay. Now, what is actually 3D scanning here is doing? 3D scanning, I have just discussed that 3D scanning is actually creating the part taken from the actual object to the, what we are doing here, we are actually, you can say, you must have heard a term that is known as reverse engineering. So using 3D scanning, we are actually reverse engineered any of the worn or broken part, which is starting from the actual object, and then we are taking it to the finally a complete 3D model, and that model we can use for inspection, for documentation also, for analysis also. Okay, so there are n number of things that we can do after creating a good, or you can say, an accurate 3D model. So what we are doing, we are taking a real object, we are creating a 3D model, and it is just the, it's just that we are bridging the physical to the digital world. So it is a bridge, you can say. 3D scanner act as a bridge, which are actually taking the physical world to the digital world itself. So what are the application of 3D scanning is? So what we are actually why we are so much concerned about 3D scanning technology? Because in the past we have already seen that the 3D scanning have several applications. So we'll discuss these applications and we'll see what are those applications, you know, and why this technology is so important. So 3D scanning can be used for surveying purpose also, or you can say 3D scanning can be used by the designer engineer itself, or you can say by the builders also. Okay, to develop or manipulate the models. You know, first to develop any construction building, and then you can analyze the forces on the beams, on the bars, different things there, so that you can know what are the stress it can bear during the physical world, and you can better visualize the end goals basically. So one of the application is basically surveying. Then what you can do, what I have just discussed is the documentation part you can also perform through 3D scanning. That means you can create model, or the model can be older one, can be very old, or maybe 20, 30 years, 50 years back model can also be recreated, so that you can say that historical background can also be recreated. That means if there is something that is related to history and there is nothing that you can recreate that, and if you have drawing is not available also, then you can use 3D scanning to recreate the historical artifacts also. So that is the main advantage of 3D scanning, that you can preserve the data, that is documentation is not there. Where the documentation is not there, what you can do, you can preserve it and then you can document it also. Okay. Next thing that is there is the biomedical thing. Biomedical application. 3D scanning is everywhere in biomedical, in dental applications. So you can improve the medical processes by performing the scanning first, and then you can, what you can do, you can perform several analysis. Topology optimization is there, shape optimization is there. Okay, so what you can do, where the stress is more, you can place more mass there, and if the stress is less at any part, you can remove the mass from there. So that is one optimization that you can perform after scanning any of the socket part, as you can see in the figure also. So one socket can be scanned, and then you can perform analysis by using some analysis software. Then you can know these stresses that are there at different location. When an empty wear this socket, then you can know what are the stresses that are applicable at different location, and accordingly what you can do, you can perform the shape and topology optimization depending on the stresses at the particular locations. Okay, so that is also can be performed. You can say 3D scanning can also be used for in the biomedical application successfully. In addition, you can also say that 3D scanning is used for dental applications also. We'll discuss that in the subsequent slide. Before that, we can see that it is also there in the aerospace application. When some of the, you can say, the aeroplanes, they crash, then you can also perform the scanning of that part, and you can know how and what is the actual reason why these, or you can say what are the stresses were there, and why this part is actually crashed, or you can say why this part is actually failed in any particular engineering components also. The dental applications, generally what doctors they do, they scan the part first nowadays, and then they can create the replica of your teeth, of your jaws, and then accordingly they can create the teeth, or they can mark the teeth accordingly. And the you can say from 3D scanning, one of the technology of 3D scanning is itself a computed tomography. That is CT scan. What we do is a part of a 3D scanning itself. So from that also we reconstruct the different body parts there also. So that is, you can say 3D scanning is an important part that creates or helps the doctors also in the biomedical as well as the dental applications. Then the important part is the, in industries, generally mostly you can say the 3D print or the 3D scanning use is basically to perform the inspection, which was the actual uh, need, you can say, for the industry, because the CMM, though it is accurate, but it is very troublesome and time consuming. Lot of time is it takes to cover a, you can say, a moderate part. So that's why 3D scanning is very much applicable there in the industry, where there is a complexity is there. When the part is very complex, then the CMM use becomes very limited. So, but the 3D scanner, it measures the geometries of physical parts and bring it again to the digital world by taking the actual surface profile, actual surface texture, whatever maybe the texture is there. So it creates that, and then you can either you can document it or you can perform the inspection of that part. And when the inspection is successful, then you can go for the final production of that part. So in this way, the 3D scanning is actually very helpful tool. You can say that. Then very important thing is the virtual reality animation. Nowadays, the gaming technology is so much evolved that we need different artifacts, different, you can say, animations, different heroes to be there in the gaming programs also. In the films also, movies, you can say animations are there. So for all that, what we do, we recreate the actual model. We create a model and we take the, you can say, scan it, and then we create a virtual model of that, and then it is imparted in the gaming system or the movies itself. So 3D scanner is actually useful in animation, or you can say virtual reality also. So that is also one of the major application of 3D scanning, which is evolved nowadays. Then also what you can do, you can scan yourself also. That is the significance of 3D scanning, that you can scan yourself also, and you can see the yourself, your texture also. Then you can create the mask of your face itself. You must have seen the movies like Krish. The masks that are created generally in the movies are actually based on after, or you can say after performing 3D scanning only. We perform 3D scanning, we get the mask features. What are the mask feature? You can say faces features are there, how the texture is changing. So based on that, we create the 3D model, and then we can create the different mask, different shape mask. That is actually, you can say, very much appreciable when you see that in the reality. So for arts and designing part, you can also use the 3D scanning technology. Then after seeing these type of application, you must have seen that it is actually 3D scanning is actually available, or it is applicable, you can say, at each of the fields, each of the domains that we are seeing here, we are visualizing here, that are tangible. We can scan everything and we can analyze all those things. So that are the some of the, you can say, applications of 3D scannings. So what actually 3D scanning does? Okay, what actually it does? 3D scannings are, you can say that it is a three-dimensional measurement devices that are actually capturing the world objects so that they can be remodeled in the form of points. What actually 3D scanning is doing? It is actually creating smaller points, and the points data is so huge that we require, or you can say, if you require higher accuracy, then the points requirement is very much high. If you require higher accuracy, higher precision, then the points are very much required, and the larger number of points, it provides more accuracy, but it does not, that the higher amount of points may give you always the same accuracy, because the higher number of points will give you some noise also. So that can affect the accuracy of any 3D model. So you have to see whether the points that are actually captured is correct, or there is any noise in that. Okay. So 3D scanning is actually what it does. It takes or captures the real world objects, and you can then create a 3D model. Then it can model, analyze in the digital world, or you can document it, or then you can manufacture it using different technologies, in which 3D printing is one of the important part. Then what it does, what it is doing, it is reverse engineering the existing part. That means we are taking the part from physical to the 3D model. Then also, if the part is not correct, then you can correct it in the 3D model itself. Then what you can do, if the part is worn, if it is broken, then what you can do, you can extend the surfaces. That means you can create the complete model, and finally you can document the part also. That means it is actually performing these, you can say, these, it is serving these functions basically. So this is just the a flow chart of reverse engineering in which 3D scanning is an important part. So when you see, just a minute, I'm okay. So yes, so it is starting from parts, any parts. Then we are actually scanning it based on the different technology scanner and our requirement. We are scanning it. After scanning, it is creating point clouds. Then we are creating mesh file. Mesh file are actually nothing but the meshes are created in the when there are n number of points are there, then the meshes are created, whether it may be a triangular mesh or maybe a quadrangular mesh. So it depends on the accuracy and the requirement, which type of mesh is there. Then you can create the surface model or the complete 3D model, or you can say the solid model. Then we are performing the reverse engineering or we are going for the inspection. So this is a complete part, or you can say a flow chart, which is actually showing you that we are starting from a physical world and going to the virtual world, in which 3D scanning is an integral part, okay, which can perform reverse engineering as well as we can perform the inspection as well. So you can see that this is a scan part. After, or you can say after scanning, this is a point cloud data of a prosthesis socket. This is the mesh file of that socket. This is the filtered points, or you can say this is the point with more number of, or you can say this is the point cloud with higher number of points. Then based on these higher number of points, this is the mesh file. So as you can see, the number of points, how it affects the meshes, and also the features of the object can also be affected based on the number of points. So it is very important parameter in 3D scanning. The number of points must be adequate. I'm not saying that the number of points must be highest number of points need to be there, but there has to be adequate number of points so that the feature must not fail, or you can say feature must not be, it's not that the features are, all the features are not covered for any individual object. Okay, so all features has to be covered so that the accuracy can be good accuracy can be realized. So what are the different types of 3D scanning technologies? Okay, we'll see that the types are the you can say the major types are photogrammetry, structured light, time of flight, and the final one which I have worked on is the laser scanning, that is based on the triangulation principle. So we'll see what are the each type of 3D scanning technology, beginning with the photogrammetry. What is the photogrammetry type? So as the name suggests, photogrammetry, that means we are taking the photographs of an object from different angles, or you can say we are taking the photographs of any object from 360 degree, you can say. Okay, so what we are doing, we are taking the photographs around 360 degree, and then we are joining those photographs by combining the common thing in all the photographs. There has to be some common part that is there when you take the photographs from different angles. When you take from different angle, there is something, there must be something which has to be common. Okay, then only you can combine the photographs and create a complete new model. Okay, it is taken from the word photography. It reconstructs a 3D dimensional image from the 2D captures. That means we are taking the photographs, and the photographs are basically the two-dimensional object. Then we are actually combining them in some softwares, and then we are creating a 3D model. So stitching of the photos, or you can say integration of the photos, can be done using these software also. These are readily available. 123D Catch, Trainio is also one of the good software. So you can use that. These softwares are freely available. Then These are generally used for creating maps. That means when you require a large amount of area to be covered, or if you require some maps, some bridges, then in that places you can use photogrammetry. Okay, where you can say the triangulation technology is not there, then you can use in that case the photogrammetry part, okay, for creating the larger area. Okay, then the structured light. So as the name suggests that the lights that is actually impinged on the object, or that is actually falling on any object, the lights, so these are in of the form of structured light. That means there is some structure of light that is actually falling on the object. So these structures actually takes the, you can say, the deformation within the surface of any object is actually captured by these lights. So these 3D scanner projects light, or you can say patterns of some bars or blocks. It may be anything. So there has been some pattern that is actually imparted on the objects, and since on object there are some different features, or you can say there are different shapes are there, so the deformation of the lights is actually captured by the, you can say, the camera or the scanner, or that is catching the light. So the deformation is actually taken out, and the points are then captured in that way. So what we are doing in the structure light, some light in the form of bars, blocks, or some other shapes, or you can say some other patterns, are actually falling on the object, and depending on the change in the, you can say, the dimension or the features of any object, the deformation, you can say, on any of the object is actually captured with the help of structured light technology. Then the scanner that is there, or the camera that is there, it is actually capturing the deformation and creating the point cloud data. So that is the structured light technology. The major disadvantage of this technology is the dim lighting or total darkness. It cannot be used in the darkness, or if the light is somewhat low. So there is also difficulty in scanning very large objects. Okay, because the structured pattern, if it, you can say, elongated, then the accuracy of capturing the object is not that good. So that is one or two the disadvantages of the structured light. Then you have the time of flight. In time of flight, as the name suggests, there will be a laser source, as you can see here in the diagram. So this laser source actually emits the light, and it falls on the object, and the distance, or you can say, it covers this distance, and using some mathematical approximations, it, or mathematical formula, it, this light is coming after falling towards the object and then falling it back to the camera, and camera actually captures this distance, what is the distance depending on the speed of light, and then the point cloud data are created using the time of flight technology. Basically, the, as the name suggests, time of flight, so that means it, whatever be the time it is taking from light coming out from the laser source falling to the object, and then again going back to the camera which is actually capturing it. So this time is actually used to determine the point cloud data locations. So these scanners measure how long it takes for a laser or infrared beam to be reflected back to the scanner. So basically it is all about the time of the light that is actually starting, falling on the object, and then going back to the camera. So this is primarily used in measuring large items, like you can say the building structures. The bigger structures are generally scanned through the time of flight technology. So this is the formula. So you can use the distance formula for calculating the distance using the speed of the light, that is c multiplied by the t. You can say in this way you are creating the distance of the object from the scanner itself. So in this way the points are actually captured. Then the last type of technology that we will be focusing on is the laser scanning that is actually based on the triangulation principle. Why I am saying that it is a triangulation principle? Because the light which starts from the laser is actually falling on the surface of the object and then going it back to the sensor. In that way, the inclination angle plays a very important role here. That means the angle alpha and this distance from surface to sensor is actually, that means this ds is actually an important parameters that are basically useful in capturing the object surface or the texture in the form of point clouds. So what it does is, laser triangulation scanner use either a laser line or a single laser point to scan across an object. So you have to either rotate the object which is placed as the center on some rotating table. Then what you can do, you can rotate the table and you can fix the location of the camera, okay, or the scanner. Or else what you can do, you can fix the object or you can rotate the scanner around. Whatever be the requirement, you can do like that. Then by casting a laser beam upon the object being scanned, a camera is able to record where the beam and object intersect. So as you can see, the laser and sensor will be at the same location that is there on the scanner itself. So from laser, the light emits and it falls on the surface with some inclination angle. And then after that, what happens? This light which is actually falling on the surface is actually captured by the sensor. So in that way, this inclination angle alpha s and this distance from surface to sensor is very important. So knowing both these angle of the laser beam and camera makes it possible to know the precise location of the dot that is actually falling on the surface. Okay, so in this way, this type of technology actually captures the point cloud data. So using the triangulation principle, it is actually capturing the point cloud data from the surface. So here the two important parameters that I have discussed is the alpha s and the ds. That means the inclination angle and the distance of this, you can say the part from the sensors. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of all those technology? We have already seen that in photogrammetry, what you can do, you can take the snapshot from your camera itself. Okay, it is not that you have to buy the costly cameras. You can take it from your mobile camera also. So it is comparatively a cheaper because it does not require any specialized equipment. In this case, you have to use the software that are actually freely available. You know? So in that case, it becomes a little bit cheaper. Allows you to scan very large objects also. It captures the texture of the object pretty accurately, though it is not that accurate, but still you get a good amount of scanning. Then also it allows to make ground analysis using drones, because you can take several snapshots by picking the camera on the drones itself, and you can rotate your drone around an object. Then it is comparatively precise one. So what are the disadvantages? It is not very easy since we don't use specialized scanners. So we don't have the convenience of these, which are often plug and play. So that means to get a required angle of the photograph, so you don't know which angle is actually correct or in which location, what is the distance we have to follow. So all these things are the disadvantages that is there in the photogrammetry. It is not there that we are using just the scanner where the sensor is fixed, where the you can say the scanner which is actually capturing the camera is fixed. So it is not something like this. In this we have to move the camera, so there will be some discomfort in realizing the angle as well as the you can say distance. Then what is the second disadvantage? That is the require specialized softwares and computer for processing, or you can say for good processing. That means you require a high-end softwares in that, or high-end computers, so to process a large number of clips that you capture here. Okay, since you are capturing n number of clips in that, and if the object is large, then you have to capture more than 50, you can say, pictures are there. So for joining all those pictures and processing all those pictures, it becomes very difficult. It becomes very troublesome. So there has to be some good computers are there that has high RAM, high processing speed, so that can be used. So that these are the disadvantages, you can say, of the photogrammetry technology. Then we have the structured light. In that, you know that it is usually provide very good result using commercial, because there are some very good scanners available in the structured light scanning. Then the accuracy is very high in the case of the structured light scanning. And what are the disadvantages? The major disadvantage is the dim light. If the light is less, then the scanner, actually the structure cannot be created in that case. So it is one of the disadvantages. And one more is that it cannot scan very large objects. And since these are the specialized scanners, so these are generally costly, you can say. So these are some of the disadvantages that are there. But when you require high accuracy, in that case, the structured light scanning is very much advisable to be used, because it can create accurate objects. Then the time of flights technology. So it is, as we know, it is very versatile. Then it only scans object, but also measure the distance from the, you can say, the object. Okay, it also allows you to make very low resolution scans. Okay, the scans for in which you require only documentation part, where you are not bothered about the dimensions. Okay, you just need a fast scan and you need the distance, location. In that case, these type of scanning technology or time of flight technology can be successfully used. So the disadvantage is same as the structured light, you can say, that we require a bright environment to perform such scanning. Then the equipments are costly, though it is less costly than the structured light. Okay, so these are some of the cons of the structured light or time of flight, the disadvantage of these technology. So these are, you can say, comparatively same, though the accuracy is more in structured light of technology. Now you have the contact based and handheld scanners also. So the major difference in these two are just that in contact based there are touch probes that we use, comparatively like what we use in the CMM, that is coordinate measuring machine. In CMM also what we do, we have a touch probe, we take the touch probe and we just point to the different location of any object. Similarly, the scanners are also comes under two, you can say, bifurcation, that is the contact based scanners and the handheld scanners. Handheld scanners are, what are the advantages? That the handheld scanners are portable generally. You can take it anywhere. Okay, you can perform at any angle, but the contact base has to be, the object has to be placed on the ground, then you can scan one by one. So it takes a lot of time, though handheld scanners can provide you the fast scanning ability, though the accuracy can be compromised some or more time, but you can say the fast scanning can be provided through the handheld as compared to the contact based scanners. So this is what we have just seen, the contact based and the handheld scanners. So in the non-contact based, that means the contactless scanners, which are actually the handheld scanners, require less time, though the precision is less as compared to the contact based, where the precision is more, though it takes a lot of time. Then after seeing the different technologies, we'll be focusing on some of the research that my team has done, I have done. So we'll be seeing that. Before that, we can see that what are the important steps that are there in the surface reconstruction of any object. Okay, starting from the initial point cloud data and going to the actual complete model. So scanning actually results, actually it scan the free form shapes or any different geometrical features can be scanned and produce a point cloud data. As you can see here, the point cloud data can be created where the large number of points are there, which can actually create the surface of the object that you have scanned. Now, for creating the solid model, there is a significant difference and significant change from the surface model to the solid model. So when you go to the solid model or you want to create a solid model, then in that case you have to be, there are the number of steps that you have to perform. So from point cloud, you goes to the creating triangular meshes. So in meshes, what we do, we generally join the points, all the points, or you can say one point is actually joined by a number of, you can say, lines to create the triangular meshes. So on those meshes, you can fit the surface completely so that you can create the solid model. Okay. In surface reconstruction, this is just to show you that during scan, what we generally do. Before surface reconstruction, what we do, we scan. What we do during scanning, we take one scan, then we change the direction, then we take another scan, then again we change the direction, then we again take the another scan. So for different orientation and different angles, we take n number of scans. So large number of scans are actually helpful in providing the accuracy, but it also takes some more time and it can also create noise data. So that thing we have to keep in our mind that during the scanning, these things have to be kept in mind. What are the suitable angle? What are the suitable distance from an object to create fast 3D model? Okay. So this part is just to show you that during scanning, what we do, we take scanning from different angle, different distance, so that the complete data we have of any individual object. And then what we can do, we select the common term, common feature from each of these snaps or scans, and then we combine or integrate these scans so that a complete 3D model is created. Okay. So the next step that is there is the alignment or registration. And what do you mean by alignment and registration? In alignment, what we do, this is the same thing what we are doing in the alignment is we are actually aligning our point cloud data on the what, or you can say on the meshes that we have created the n number of meshes, or you can say the triangular meshes. So on that we have to fit the surface. So this can be performed during the scanning also and can be used as a post processing step also. So then what we do, we perform the scanning, then we clean the noise part, and we provide the filling of holes. If the sum of the part is not captured, then there will be creation of holes. So that will affect the final accuracy of the 3D model. So that is important in the preliminary steps as well, that we clean the noise part, we clean the part that is not required to us, and we fill all the holes that is available after scanning an individual part, so that finally when we create a 3D model or the solid model, it will not affect the final accuracy. So after filling all those things, the triangular meshes are converted into the NURBS surfaces during the CAD modeling, or you can use different modeling softwares, that is CATIA is there, SolidWorks are there. So in CATIA, I have worked in CATIA, there is a digital shape editor module in which you can perform the NURBS modeling, or you can perform the surface reconstruction, you can perform the surface fitting, and also there you can perform filtering step, you can perform alignment, you can perform registration. So all those steps can be performed there, and you can create a complete CAD model, or you can say the surface model, and from there you can create a complete solid model. So there are n number of steps also during scanning also you have to keep in mind the distance, the angle, and during the surface reconstruction part also, from point cloud to final 3D solid model, you have to keep in mind several steps. So those steps actually affect the final accuracy. And now we'll see some of the, you can say, preliminary research in 3D scanning. Though 3D scanning is very developed thing, n number of research have been done on this, and so I will be discussing not you can say, I will be discussing only the preliminary part. Okay, I'm not going into the developed thing. Okay, so first thing that we have kept in mind during our research, that when you create a model, it is very important to capture accurate point cloud data, or to capture the correct point cloud data, the point cloud data which are mostly free from the noisy data. Okay, the data that we don't require there. So in the initial steps, we have seen that the distance, scanning distance, and the scanning incidence angle. So that means this distance from the surface to the sensor, and this incidence angle from the laser to the surface. These can be changed, or these can be varied by fixing the surface, okay, and then rotating it based on our requirement. Here, what we can do, we can fix this object on some part and then rotate that, so that the incidence angle is changing at each of the, you can say, as per your requirement, you can change the incidence angle and look after the change in the point cloud data capturing. Okay, so initially what we have done, we have considered these two parameters to check whether these two have any effect, or what is the actual effect, what is the significant effect, is there any effect or not. Okay, so we have checked these two parameters first. We have created an arrangement for that. We have fixed our part to this arrangement, and you can see there are angles marked on this part, and we can rotate this arrangement easily, as you can see here. And 3D scanning can be done by rotating at different, you can say, different angles as well. We are rotating our object that is actually placed on this arrangement, which can rotate from 0 to 180 degree, or you can say the 360 degree also. So we have applied, we have to use some, you can say, tangible, or you can say the already existed design of experiments that can be, you can say, not be questionable. So we use, for that we use full factorial design that is already tested. Okay, so in that we have performed 42 experimental runs with 6 levels of scanning distance and 7 levels of scanning incidence angle, which is starting from 0 degree, and then we are changing it by 15 degree each. So from 0 to 90 degree, we have taken 7 different scanning incidence angle, and then the distance also varied from 60 mm to 130 mm as per the requirement. So based on that, there will be 42 experimental runs that we have performed, and the scanning is performed by using the different combination of these distance and incidence angle. So in that way, after performing the 42 experimental runs, we get to know about the standard deviation. We have considered here standard deviation to know whether this point cloud data that is actually captured here is how much it is deviating from the actual CAD model of the object. If we are considering a simple object and we are scanning it on the different, you can say, experimental conditions with different varying scanning distance and scanning incidence angle, then the standard deviation is actually taken as a measure of, you can say, a parameter to signify the accuracy in the point cloud data and how it is varying from the actual CAD model of the original object. So then we perform the ANOVA. As you know that the ANOVA is basically analysis of variance, how the parameters, how these individual parameter or their interaction have affect the final standard deviation or accuracy. Then for that also we have performed the, you can say, some confirmation test. Then finally we created a model using the different softwares that are there available. You can say the design expert, so they can create the equations, and after that, that is optimized using some nature inspired algorithms. And finally, the validation has been done using some different, you can say, the freeform shapes part. Okay, we have taken an electric iron upper part and then the prosthesis socket that is there, which has the freeform shape and geometry. So for checking the what are the change in the you can say accuracy based on these angles and distance. So these are the, you can say, the values that we got for standard deviation for different distance and based on different scanning angles. Then this is the mathematical equation of the standard deviation is developed using the softwares. That is actually totally done by the softwares. In that we have done that. Our main part is the scanning thing. Okay. So this is the ANOVA analysis based on the softwares itself. ANOVA analysis is performed, and then we have seen there that the individual parameters are actually affecting the you can say the final standard deviation. Also, the interaction term is also very significant to that affect the you can say final accuracy. Then the confirmation test is also performed based on the surface plots. You can say this is the you can say validation part using the mean absolute percentage error, where the measured standard deviation and the predicted one are compared basically. So this is the formula they have used. Since the percentage mean absolute error is very less, so you can say that it does not vary much from the predicted values. Okay, so these are the results for the you can say optimization. We have used particle swarm optimization and some modification on the particle swarm optimization, and that is compared with the analytical results that are actually coming from the equation itself. Okay, so we have seen that there are some values of the standard deviation that we achieve that is available here. As you can see that the scanning angle which can provide the minimum angle is predicted based on the optimization. Then based on that, the scanning angle and distance, we have actually performed that thing on the case studies. We have taken two case studies. One is the, you can say, the upper part of an iron, in which there are the surface is quite varying. As you can see, it is free-form shape. So we have scanned it based on our scanning distance and scanning angle prediction. So based on that, number of points have been created, which are more than 2,60,000. Then average deviation is created based on the default parameters. Then you can say we have also performed the optimization. So optimized results are always, you can say, mostly less than the actual that is there. Though the default parameter average deviation is less, but we can certainly optimize that. So standard deviation also we got that is actually lesser than the actual experimental conditions what we have actually doing based on the manufacturer you can say the recommendations. So after that we have also performed the scanning based on our distance, our scanning angle that is predicted by the results. We have also scanned prosthesis socket. Based on that, we have find out that the standard deviation is comparatively improved. You can say, though the optimized results were more improved, but our parameter that is there is created, or you can say the standard deviation that is predicted by the distance and the scanning angle is comparatively less than what we do with the default parameters. So based on that, the publications are already have been published. You can say the papers have already arrived. that is in the 2016-17 only. So you can go through the paper if you want. These are the two papers that are already published in the measurement journals. Then what are the significant findings that we got here? That the scanning distance is have to be approximate to the 70 mm from the object surface. So that means the scanner must not be kept greater distance than 70 or 75 mm. So it has to be closer to the surface, which it is not that it is just touching the surface. It has to be certain distance, but you can take 70 to 80 mm as the appropriate or adequate distance or the optimized distance, you can say. Then we also found that the scanning angle must be below 50 degree. But the scanning angle after, or you can say above the 50 degrees, actually hampering the results. However, below 50 degree, the results are quite good. So you can say that the scanning distance has to be in around 70 mm and scanning angle has to be around 50 degree or less than 50 degree, not greater than the 50 degree, to get a good accurate, or you can say the better point cloud data as compared to the default settings. Default what we are doing based on the manufacturer or distributor recommendation, that is actually creating, or you can say the point clouds are good but the noise is more, and it takes a lot of time as when you compare it with these you can say distance and angle, you get a good point cloud data and within good space of time, within you can say less space of time. So these are the findings that we got when we consider two parameters. So from you can say during scanning we got that okay, we have to keep scanning distance at this point and scanning angle at this point. So after getting the point cloud data and to create that into the 3D model, we have to perform a number of steps that we have already seen that in the previous slides. So we'll see what are those different steps and how I have or my team has actually evolved using the different softwares and different modules. And based on that, we have checked what are the things or what are the parameters or what are the parameters value that we have kept, and we got a good result. I'm not saying that other software cannot produce good result, but there has to be some parameters or some values of those parameters that actually give you a good result. So the other scanning parameters that you can see are important in improving the accuracy of the point cloud data is the field of view. Then you can say we have already seen the scanning distance, then the portion, or you can say the depth of field. Then you can also say that beam width, or you can say the scanner resolution. So these are some of the parameters that can also affect the accuracy of the scanning parameters. So people are doing research in that area also. Okay. So now I'm moving to the second part. So which is starting from accurate surface reconstruction.
Winter wear में पजामे टोपी था daily routine.
Is there any query, Chirag sir?
Yes, Vimal sir.
Is there any query?
No,
So I
I'm
think
checking. Somebody has
Okay.
unmuted. I'm checking.
Okay.
You please continue.
Okay, sir. So the next step that is there, while taking the you can say the point clouds that are noisy and that are uncertain, that is not so accurate, now how to convert that into the accurate surface data. So for that, we know that it actually represents the surface. So the methods that already have been used are very good. So researcher, they generally use the you can say the algorithms, different complicated mathematical approximations they do, but it does not represent the underlying you can say surface accurately, because these are just the approximation. It is not accurately defined. Okay, so their main focus will be on just retaining the surface details without actually considering the accuracy. They just want to recreate the data or recreate the surface without actually going into the minute features or without actually seeing the accuracy of that part. Okay, so these algorithms are only applicable to surfaces without holes. If the holes are there, then what has to be done is not actually provided. So these are some of the shortcomings you can say. Okay, and on that, so there has to be some improvement based on the mathematical approximation, based on the algorithms that are provided in the past research. Then what you can do, you can use the different softwares or you can explore different softwares. So I'm showing you or sharing with you here the work that our team has done. They have used some, you can say, the CATIA softwares and the SolidWorks softwares, and explore the, or you can say the, explore the add-ins that is there for the 3D scanning. Okay, for the 3D scanning module. So there are different modules that are available in the CATIA softwares as well as in the SolidWorks. In CATIA, it is digitized shape editor module is there. In SolidWorks, it is scan to 3D module is there. So these two modules are very much helpful and very much it can create the accurate, you can say, solid model. Okay. So what we have done, we have taken a socket and we have created a, you can say, a model based on that after performing a number of operations that are there. And we have seen what are the important parameters that is actually affecting the final accuracy during the surface reconstruction. So for that, we have taken different scans with our parameters and whatever be our angles. Based on that, we have taken the point cloud data. Now the raw point cloud data is actually processed in the different softwares that are there. So first, we have performed different steps. These steps that are there are the first, the removal of outliers is there, removal of noise is there. The second step that is performed is the filtering process. I will show you what is actually filtering and what is the effect does this filtering does on the object final accuracy. Then also in filtering in the CATIA, there is different modules, whether you have to perform homogeneous filtering. Homogeneous means you are actually filtering the point cloud based on the complete part, or you can say adaptive filtering, in which you take a specific region to perform the filtering operation. Then based on that, we are considering three different point data. That means one point cloud data on which we have not performed filtering, one point cloud data on which we have performed homogeneous filtering, one point cloud data on which we have performed adaptive filtering. Okay, so all these filtering techniques, after performing that, we have performed the, you can say, the meshes are generated on those three point cloud data, and then the mesh smoothing is performed on that. Further, in smoothing also, smoothing can be done in two different ways in the CATIA itself, that is single effect, dual effect. Either you are performing smoothing in one go, or you want your smoothing process to be a double go process. That means you need to perform it 2 times based on the different parameters that is there. Then using this, 3 different meshes are created, and finally the decimation and optimization is performed, and finally the surface is created. So this is the different steps that we performed in the CATIA. Though we have considered filtering and smoothing as the 2 important parameters that can actually change the accuracy of the point cloud. That's why we have considered these 2 as our important parameters in the CATIA softwares. Then in the SolidWorks, we are starting with the raw point cloud data, and then we are again removing the noise, outliers. In the SolidWorks, there are 2 different filtering techniques, that is the local and global. That means in the local and global as well, there are 4 different features that are there. What are the 4 different features? One is randomly filtered Other one is curvature based filtering. Third one is uniform filtering, and the fifth one or the fourth one is the hybrid filtering, where they are using some, that means the ICP algorithm that is already there, which is known as the approximation algorithm, that is already existed in the literature. So this is the four different filtering process that they are using in the SolidWorks. So here also the algorithm part is also coming, as the hybrid one is actually using the standard, or you can say standard algorithm for filtering any part or the point cloud data. Then the generation of triangle meshes are there. After generating the meshes, again smoothing is performed. In smoothing also, we have considered local, global, and boundary based smoothing. That means based on the adequate boundary or the complete boundary, smoothing is performed. Global is generally a larger area in which smoothing is performed at one go, and local is just to take a small area where smoothing is actually performed. So accordingly, it is taking time based on the local, global, and boundary smoothing. Then the hole filling process here comes a little bit late in the SolidWorks, though it is quite earlier in the CATIA. During the noise removal, you can fill the hole in the CATIA process, in the CATIA interface. Though in the SolidWorks, the hole filling process comes after creation of the, or you can say the triangle meshes. So then you have the surface creation. In surface creation, they have some important, you can say, parts that is automatic, whether you are creating automatic surface or you can customize it according to your use. And finally, the surface or the model is created in the SolidWorks. So in these two different interfaces that we have used, we have considered filtering and mesh smoothing as the two important steps that can significantly affect the process of any surface development or the accuracy of any developed surface. Now, as you can see, these two are the point cloud data of any of chairs, you can say, and then we have filtered the point cloud. Here you can see there are, on the left side, you can see there are a lot of noise are available in this case. As you can see, these point cloud data which are outliers, which is actually not required to us for creating the complete surface. What it can do when you create or when you use this point cloud data, which is quite noisy, and when you create the surface based on these noisy data, then the surface that is actually created is something else. So you will not get the chair surface, you will get something different thing, something different features will be provided to you. Though when you perform the actual, or you can remove the noise outliers, and after performing the filtering technique, filtering is basically what it is actually removing the outliers or removing the point data. So for large number of point data, the processing of large number of point data itself is very troublesome. If you don't have the fast processor, fast software, fast computing applications, in that case, the points, if there are large number, so the processing becomes very hectic. So the filtering effect is actually very helpful in reducing the size of the point clouds. So it can reduce the number of point cloud, though the important features has to be maintained. It is not that you can perform the 100% filtering. You have to perform 10 to 15% or 20% or maybe 30 to 35% filtering, depending on your application, depending upon your requirement, depending on the features that are available on the object, depending on these preform surfaces that are there, so that you can easily create the surface after the meshing part. Okay, so there has to be a number of point cloud data that is available there. Then you can also see here what is the difference of the filtering technique. So as you can see on the left, the number of point cloud is very much huge, though the number of point cloud here is less. But using these point cloud data also, you can easily create the surface. So this point cloud, though the accuracy will be comparable, but it is very hard to process these amount of point cloud data. So when you scan an object, please keep in mind the point cloud data, large amount of data is not necessary always for creating the accurate surface. So then we have performed the filtering based on the CATIA and the SolidWorks. In the CATIA, what I have just shown you, we have used adaptive filter and the homogeneous filter. Based on that, we got that different, you can say filtering has their different effect. Though the adaptive filter have provided or minimized the deviation significantly. So that is one important part that is there in the CATIA, that the adaptive filter with 15% reduction is actually providing you the accurate results. Okay. Then the smoothing, as you can see, the smoothing, how the smoothing can be done, or how the smoothing can enhance the, you can say, the aesthetic look of any object. Okay. Though you can see in the left side how it looks, and after performing the smoothing, how the features are actually more visible to us, and you can say more aesthetic look we got through smoothing. And also in smoothing, there is one advantage is that we got the actual feature what we want or what is actually there in the object, and it is quite visible after performing the smoothing. So we have already performed the smoothing operation, and we have seen that different smoothing operations have different effect. Though the significant effect was provided by the 30% homogeneous mesh, that is on which we have performed single effect smoothing with factor 0.5, there shows an increment in deviation also, though there is some decrease in the mean deviation. So the different smoothing operations have different results. So we have compiled that result. After that, we have performed decimation and optimization on the CATIA itself. So for different mesh files, we have 3 different mesh files. On the different meshes file, we have performed decimation, and then the optimization is performed, and finally the results were obtained. Now similarly, we have performed the same operations on the SolidWorks, starting from the filtering. So in the filtering also there will be, as I have discussed, so random filtering is there, curvature filtering, uniform and hybrid filtering were there. So based on that, they give some result, and we have seen that the curvature filtering have shown us the significant reduction in the deviation, and then the hybrid also, which are actually used, you can say, which use the approximation algorithms that are there. Though the curvature one also provide us the, you can say, the better result than the hybrid one. Similarly, we performed the smoothing operation where different smoothing factors have been used. Though the maximum deviation begins from 0 and then stabilize at 6, up to 6 factor smoothing factor, and after that the deviation is minimum. Okay. Then the surface is generated using the SolidWorks, and the different, you can say, the 4 different files of meshes are actually creating the surfaces, and we have seen significant change in the, you can say, the deviation when we are taking it default, and then we are taking from the our parameters. So there is a significant difference in the deviation. As you can see, the deviation is around 0.2 mm. So this is the comparison of CATIA and SolidWorks model that we have created. In the CATIA itself, you have seen, must have seen that the standard deviation is minimum for mesh edge. That means the mesh in which homogeneous filtering has been performed. So the homogeneous filtering is actually providing you the minimum reduction in the deviation. Then the smoothing is also based on the 0.5 single smoothing parameter. Then based on that, the reduction is minimum, or you can get minimum standard deviation. In the SolidWorks also, you got the curvature base as the minimum, though the minimum is not as minimum to the CATIA, but it is quite comparable to the CATIA results. So there are, you can say, you can follow these steps if you are using CATIA interface for converting your you can say point clouds data into the surface models. You can use the disguise shape editor module, and you can use these type of filtering and smoothing, so for getting the better results in the surface fitting. And then also in the SolidWorks you can get the filtering, you can perform the curvature filtering, smoothing factor you can take 4, and without optimization also you will get the surface that is quite accurate. So based on that also some of the publications have been there that is already published. Now the third thing what we have taken, or we have in the surface reconstruction also, we thought of taking these parameters as the you can say changing the final accuracy. We thought of taking these parameters. So we have considered some of the surface reconstruction parameter. That means we have taken number of points as one of the parameters. Then we have taken filtering percentage as one of the parameter. Then also during creation of meshes, we have also taken triangle count as one of the parameter, and then finally smoothing level. So after performing on the software itself, we get to know that actually these 3 or 4 things are actually affecting the final accuracy of the part. So we thought of optimizing it using some different algorithms and using the soft computing, that is the fuzzy logic. So we have used fuzzy logic and we predicted the final result, and we see that these 4 parameters are actually have some effect, or you can say some significant effect of one of 2 parameter on the final accuracy of the surface model. So we have taken some different levels for number of points, filtering, triangle count, smoothing level. 5 different levels are there we have considered, and we have provided them some linguistic variable names, that is very low, low, medium, high, and very high. Then based on different filtering percentage, these are the some of the picks that we got for the socket. And then based on different you can say triangle count, as you can see 80%, 40%. Then finally based on different smoothing parameter, we got these 2 you can say the files of the socket. Here you can also see that in different smoothing parameters there is a change in the features of these is there. Yes, Kailash sir.
We have 10 more minutes, sir. We'll be
Okay,
ending
sir.
at
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So this is what smoothing, different smoothing level can change the file, or you can say change the models. So based on that, we have used some membership function that is there in the fuzzy logic. You all know about that. So I'm not going into the deep of fuzzy or something. So using these fuzzy, we have produced some rules, and based on that, we got some important interaction effect of the parameter that we have considered, and individual effects also. So we got that the number of points and filtering percentage, we created some interaction plot with the surface deviation and file size. The response that we have considered are the surface deviation and the file size, because file size is also very important parameter or very important response. During processing a large amount of point data, it is very you can say imperative to have a comparatively lesser file size, so that it can help us in the processing of the data basically. Okay, so we have seen that the number of, you can say, when you increase the number of points, so it is not necessary that it increase the accuracy, though the surface deviation is showing a decreased trend, and also the file size is also increasing. So there is a, you can say, a different trend when we see number of points and we change or we increase the number of points, though the surface deviation is decreased, but the file size is increased. So that is also very not good. when you process a large number of points. Also, we have seen that the filtering percentage, when we have increased, though it has decreased the surface deviation up to certain limit, and after that it remains constant. There you can say there is a significant decrease in the file size also. So what it does, filtering, is it is actually removing the points from the file itself, from the model itself. Filtering, what it does, it takes out the points. So after some time, the deviation becomes constant because it can deteriorate after, but it will not improve after a certain amount of filtering. But yes, when you remove the points from the model, then yes, the file size will automatically be reduced. Then you have the effect of the triangle count. It also shows the same trend as the number of points shows. Then you have the smoothing level. How much if you increase the smoothing level, then there is a chance that the surface deviation may increase. So there has to be some limit of the smoothing. And then also when you perform the smoothing, the file size also increase. So these are the surface plots that we got from the fuzzy logic itself. So what are the important findings that are there? The surface deviation decreases while file size of the final socket model increases with increase in number of point percentage. So that means the first thing that we got is surface deviation is decreasing, okay, with increase in number of point. It is found that with increase in number of point data, the surface accuracy improves by 50%. So a significant difference is there. And file size is observed to be increased also by 34%. So this is also not favorable to us. So it also increased the space requirement for storing the final surface model, while number of point percentage increases from 20 to 100%. So this finding is also not favorable to just increase the number of points. Okay, though it decreased the surface deviation, but the file size is also increases with same way. So the surface deviation decrease, that means this accuracy is increased up to filtering level of 17%, but nearly remains constant after any further increase in the filtering. So the final model size decreases with increase in filtering, though it is obvious that if we remove the point cloud, then it will automatically increase, you can say, the model or decrease the model size. The surface accuracy is increased by 20% or 28%, and file size increased by 7.8% with increase in triangle count. So when we are increasing the triangle count also, the surface accuracy is also increased. Okay, so that is also a good parameter that is affecting the final accuracy. Similarly, for the final parameters also, so it is just that the number of points that we have to consider have to be seen as an adequate parameter. That means we need some optimized value for that, so that this amount of filtering has to be performed, or this amount of parameter, or you can say point cloud has to be there to actually accurately define any part. So this there has to be a something, or you can say there has to be a trade-off between the surface deviation and file size. So if you require an accurate object, then the number of points is an important parameter. Though in that case you require a large processing computers, or a good RAM has to be there in the computer itself. Then there are some inspection framework that we have provided based on the you can say 3D scanning, depending on the 3D scanners. What are the frameworks that you can use in the industries, and you can perform the inspection directly using this framework, which is starting from the Vaughan components, and finally, or you can see finally ending to the accepting or rejecting of any part in the industry itself. So this is an inspection framework that is actually based for contactless scanning, which is starting from Vaughan. This you can see wear out components, then we take acquisition and organized points are there, then we perform point processing based on the different parameters. So all these you can perform, and you can get the acceptance or rejection of any component in the industry. So based on that, you can see some papers are also published. Then our team has also finally provided a benchmark part. A benchmark part has combine of typical features that are already there for any engineering component. So you can see this benchmark part has different cubicles are also there, blocks are there, circular object is also there, semicircle is there, slots are there, these steps are there, pyramids are there, so cylinders are there, holes are also there, internal features are also there. So on this, using this part, you can scan or you can visualize or you can check the accuracy of any contactless scanner. Okay, by matching with the distributors or you can say manufacturers specification, you can just check it using these proposed benchmark parts. So these are the you can say details of the geometries. So these are, you can say that these are the comparisons of the default parameters and the proposed inspection framework that we have proposed. Then based on that, we have performed different GD&T comparison. GD&T is basically the geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, straightness, flatness of any part, cylindricity of any part, circularity in any feature, or you can say any hole, perpendicularity, parallelism. So all those parameters that is actually present in nowadays industry that we see is actually inspected using the 3D scanner and based on the framework that we provided and based on the benchmark part also. Okay, so you can use this benchmark part for you can say inspecting any of the part or for checking or confirming the accuracy of any scanner also. So these are the results. Now finally you can perform the 3D scanning with your phone also nowadays. You know that this part can be scanned with phones. Then you can also reconstruct using a Meshroom software where you can remove the noise from the you can say this is quite like photogrammetry. We have taken different snapshot from different angle, then taken to the software that is readily available, Meshroom interface where you remove the noise and you combine to create a 3D model there, or you can say a surface model is created, and finally you can create a 3D model using some other softwares that is readily available. That is your MeshLab software. So this is also a readily available software. There you can post process it and you will get a final 3D surface model. I think that is it for today, Kailash sir. That is
Yes,
it
sir.
from my side.
Yes.
5 बजे से खत्म कर दिया था.
Yes. Great. So thank you for delivering this session on 3D scanning, and you have shown the softwares we can effectively use for reverse engineering, like use of SolidWorks and CATIA, and the last one you have shown. So that much of work we can do in the area of reverse engineering. You have shown some examples to us also. So now it's up to the participants, those who are interested, they can work, they can start work on reverse engineering using 3D scanning. And those who are more interested in this, they can contact Dr. Vimal Pathak by email. They can even visit a lab also. And whenever you sir conduct any program, please let us know. We'll be joining that program too.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for delivering such a nice session. And